Did you guys know that whiteness is multiracial? Well, this is the argument that the Washington Post seems to be making in this op-ed. To understand Trump's support, we must think in terms of multiracial whiteness. So you guys know how I did a video a couple months ago about how the group of men that hang out together and drink and fight Antifa, that I'm not going to say the name of because it'll probably end up getting me demonetized based on the way that everything is going. Maybe I'm a little overly cautious, but I'm just judging based on what I see being censored on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and all these other things. Anyway, I did a video about this guy right here, this American supremacist a couple of months ago, because he is the leader of that infamous white supremacist group that shall not be named, and he's not white. He's not white. Well, apparently this got out to the masses, and everyone started to question about how in Lord's name could this group be white supremacists if their leader is not white. And now the Washington Post has provided us an explanation, which we are going to read together in this video. I haven't read this yet. This is going to be a reaction video. I mean, come on. I've seen the headline everywhere though. Whiteness. Whiteness is multiracial. So we're going to read this video and do a little bit of a reaction to it. But before we get into that, guys, I just want to let you know that this month, listen, there's a lot of censorship going on this month. And what I'm really trying to do, my very best, is to consolidate everyone into a platform where we know that we will not be censored, we will not be banned, we will not have to deal with any of this stuff. We will be completely insulated from all of this nonsense. And that platform is Locals. Locals is a private social networking community, social media for adults. It is the nicest place on social media because we don't have trolls. We don't. And how they make that happen is, in order to get access to the full set of features in Locals, you got to chip in just a little bit of money. A little bit of money. Now, I want to be very clear. It is free to join. It is free to join. You do not have to chip in money just to join. There seems to be a lot of confusion for a lot of people on this. It is free to join. Along with your free account on my Locals, you get access to all of my videos ad-free. So you don't have to put up these annoying YouTube ads, and you don't need to pay YouTube a premium subscription. You get ad-free videos just for setting up a free account on kb.locals.com. The URL is literally right below me. Right below me in that little box, okay? Now, if you want access to the full set of features, to include discussions, commenting on posts, I do Zoom calls twice a week with my community. We do book clubs. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of other stuff in 2021 together. You do have to chip in because that shows you want to be a proactive member of the community. It is $5. $5, so less than a cup of coffee that you would buy at Starbucks. I've kept it at the absolute lowest level that I can to make it affordable for everyone. And I'm going to make it even more affordable because if you sign up using the promo code free speech, all one word, free speech, by the end of January, you're going to get a free month to try it out to see if you like it. So really, guys, there's no harm in doing it, and it's going to get you into the community and get us all in one place. So at least if all else fails, I have a way to keep in touch with you, and we have some place we can go that is not beholden to social media overlords. Okay, let's get back to this article. Let's see what they have to say. Oh, it's written by an associate professor of social and cultural analysis at New York University. Nothing could go wrong with this. The Trump administration's anti-immigration, anti-civil rights stance has made it easy to classify the president's loyalists as a hegemonist mob of white nationalists. Well, he did a pretty crappy job to have an anti-civil rights stance. He had the lowest African-American unemployment rate, lowest Hispanic unemployment rate, lowest Asian unemployment rate, and also like the lowest unemployment rate for females and young professionals in like 50 years or something like that. The rest of them, like the lowest African-American, Hispanic, and Asian unemployment rate was the lowest rate in history. He was doing a pretty bad job for someone who doesn't like the civil rights movement. Also permanent funding of historically black colleges and universities, but you know, facts don't matter to professors at NYU. Come on. But take a look at the FBI's posters showing people wanted in the insurrection assault on the U.S. Capitol. Among the many white faces, there are a few that are clearly Latino or African American. Oh my God. Oh my God, you mean that the Washington Post and this professor at NYU have discovered that not all Trump supporters are white? Let's explain away this phenomenon. Such diversity highlights the fact that President Trump's share of the Latino vote in November actually rose over 2016. Yes, it did. Notwithstanding, and you know why it rose? Because you got an awful lot of people, like especially, oh dude, the Cubans in Florida, the Cubans were like, we understand socialism, we don't want that. And I'm not one to say that this country is going to descend into a sea of socialism very quickly. I don't think it is. I don't think Joe Biden's a socialist. Listen, if the Democrats had wanted to descend us into a socialist utopia, they would have let Bernie Sanders win. The Democrats specifically installed Joe Biden. This was a specific choice. They got Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar to drop out before Super Tuesday. They left Elizabeth Warren in so she could siphon off votes from Bernie. If they had wanted to have a socialist utopia, they just would have let the primaries play out without interfering and Bernie would have won. But they didn't want that. They wanted Biden. This was a deliberate choice. So I don't buy that particular line of rhetoric, but when we're talking about the Latino vote, there are two things that I think, well, maybe as many as three things that I think are in play here. Number one, Cubans, especially, and again, I'm talking specifically about why Trump won Florida. Like in Miami, they understand what it's like in Cuba. Okay, they understand that. That's one factor. Two, Latinos tend to be more conservatively religious. They are a lot of Catholics. I mean, of course they're going to vote for Trump when they have someone like Biden. Biden's not a real freaking Catholic. And three, I also think that when we're looking at immigrant communities, at least a lot of the ones that I've interacted with, and this is true of both the illegal and the illegal immigrants, because I've interacted with a lot of both, actually, they tend to have a greater appreciation for what America is, the freedom of America. And I'm sorry, guys, like once I was actually just talking with my husband about this last night, and he said, Carlin, once they get their papers and they feel safe, they don't care anymore about what the Democrats are doing. And I actually kind of tend to buy into that if I'm honest about it. So, you know, is it any wonder that Latino support rose? No, to people who live in reality, but professors at NYU don't live in reality. Let's keep going. Yes, Trump's voters and his mob are disproportionately white. Well, actually, the other thing that she's not adding in there is that Joe Biden actually siphoned off white votes from Trump. He did. Trump's white voter base went down and they voted for Biden instead. How do you explain that, Washington Post? Notwithstanding years of incendiary rhetoric targeting Mexican and Latino communities, yet, yes, Trump's voters and his mob are disproportionately white. But one of the most unsettling exit poll data points of the 2020 election was that a quarter to a third of Latino voters voted to re-elect Trump. They did, didn't they? And while the vast majority of Latinos and an overwhelming majority of African Americans voted to support the Biden-Harris ticket, and were crucial to its success. Can you just feel like the propaganda? It was crucial to their success. Many black and brown voters have family and friends who fervently backed the MAGA policy agenda, including its delusions and conspiracy theories. The organizers of the movement that I'm not allowed to say the name of is Ali Alexander, a Trump supporter who identifies as a black and Arab. The chairman of the group, the drinking club that I'm not going to say the name of, is Enrique Tarrio, a Latino raised in Miami's Little Havana who identifies as Afro-Cuban. Dude, what I was saying for months, every time they were like, they're white supremacists, I was like, their leader's not white. When he arrived in Washington for the January 6th march, he was arrested for allegedly burning a Black Lives Matter banner taken from a black church the month before, because Black Lives Matter has never burned anything. They've never burned anything. Never, never. Black Lives Matter is the paragon of virtue. They've never set fire to a single thing. What are we to make of Tarrio and more broadly of Latino voters inspired by Trump? And what are we to make of mistakenly white mob violence that also includes non-white participants? I call this phenomenon multiracial whiteness. The promise that they too can lay claim to the politics of aggression, exclusion, and domination, because all white people are interested in is aggression, exclusion, and domination. This is what they actually think of all white people. This is what they actually think of you. If you are not actively working to deconstruct your whiteness, then you are only interested in aggression, exclusion, and domination. This is real, by the way. I really want to emphasize that. This is real. This is real. This is not The Onion. This is not the Babylon Bee. This is the Washington Post. This is real. They really believe this. Before Trump, conservatives seeking to appeal to Latinos typically embraced the politics of conservative multiculturalism. Politicians such as George W. Bush reached out to Latino voters by showing a familiarity with their language and history. Kind of like when Beto and Cory Booker and basically everyone in those first couple of Democratic debates just started speaking Spanish in the middle of the debate to show that they identified with the Latino voter. Emphasizing the values of diversity and inclusion. That's what they did when they were speaking Spanish during the debate. Depicting Latinos as a distinct and valuable part of America's democratic mosaic, conservative multiculturalism connected Latino culture to Republican values, emphasizing conservative approaches to faith, patriotism, and the traditional family. Because Trump didn't do that at all. Says people who have never actually listened to what Trump said. Trump, by contrast, knows nothing of the history of Latinos in the United States and rarely even pretends to find value in Latinos' distinct identity. Rather than offering his non-white voters recognition, Trump has offered them multiracial whiteness. This is real. This is real. And this is being taught to your kids at NYU. Congratulations. Dude, I almost went to NYU. I did. I almost went to NYU. They were like, how much does NYU cost these days? Let's just look this up real quick. We're going to look this up because why can't the site be reached, NYU? Is it New York University? Jeez. NYU.edu. Okay. Let's see how much NYU cost, because when I was going to go to NYU, and this was like over 20 years ago now, it was like $40,000, and it was expensive then. It was like the most expensive school I applied to. And here, by the way, is where they're going to hide the tuition and fees. There's going to be like 17 links that we have to go through to find out the tuition and fees. Look up your tuition. Are you a current student? Let's just say I'm a prospective student, undergraduate. I want to enroll. I can't even click the link. Calculate. It's not even letting me do this. Seriously, I'm not kidding. That doesn't work. Current student? Graduate student. It's not. NYU's site doesn't work. Okay, I'm sorry. I know this is a sidebar, but let's go into this other browser that I'm using for my locals. So I had to use an incognito browser to get into that NYU thing. Holy crap. NYU's website doesn't work. I just want to know what the fucking tuition is, man. Wow. Wow. Okay, that's a different problem for a different day. I'm going to bet I looked up Syracuse University's tuition and fees like a couple months back, and that was like $77,000 a year. So I'm going to bet that's what we're talking about. The person who wrote this op-ed teaches at NYU. Let's just keep that in mind. Rooted in America's ugly history of white supremacy, indigenous dispossession, and anti-blackness, multiracial whiteness is an ideology invested in the unequal distribution of land, wealth, power, and privilege, a form of hierarchy in which the standing of one section of the population is premised on the debasement of others. Multiracial whiteness reflects an understanding of whiteness as a political color. Whiteness is a political race and not simply a racial identity, a discriminatory worldview in which feelings of freedom and belonging are produced through the persecution and dehumanization of others. This article is better than I ever dared dream. Multiracial whiteness promises Latino Trump supporters freedom, from the politics of diversity and recognition, for voters who see the very act of acknowledging one's racial identity. Ooh, hang on, pause, I'm going to redo that. For the voters who see the very act of acknowledging one's racial identity as itself racist. The politics of multiracial whiteness reinforces their desired approach to colorblind individualism. Yes, it's this crazy idea. It's this crazy idea that we should be judged based on the content of our character and our contribution and our merit and our hard work rather than on the color of their skin. That is what multiracial whiteness is, right there. That is what it is. This idea that I can achieve something even if I'm not white. Are you kidding me? Like, do these people ever listen to themselves? This is racist. This is racist. This is, oh my God, this is so racist. This is saying to people who have black or brown skin that if you don't agree that you're oppressed, then you have multiracial whiteness. If you don't agree that you are oppressed and will never get anywhere without the support of white liberals lifting you up through our diversity and inclusion efforts, then you are a multiracial white racist or something. I don't even know what they're saying, but it's incredibly racist. It is incredibly racist to say if you deny your oppression, you are embracing multiracial whiteness. In the politics and multiracial whiteness, anyone can join the MAGA movement and engage in the wild freedom of unbridled rage and conspiracy theories. Actually, most people that voted for Trump hate the conspiracy theorists. P.S. Not hate. I guess I don't hate them. I feel really sorry for them. I think like they've got just like the woke on the left, the conspiracy theorists on the right have gotten sucked into this deranged version of reality. They're living in exactly the same derangement that the woke on the left are living in. I think it's sad. I think it's sad when it happens on the left, and I think it's sad when it happens on the right. Multiracial whiteness offers citizens of every background the freedom to call Muslims terrorists, demand that undocumented immigrants be rounded up and deported, deride BLM as a movement of thugs and criminals, and accuse Democrats of being blood-drinking pedophiles. Those are conspiracy theorists. Not everyone that voted for Trump is a conspiracy theorist. Here are the politics of exclusion, violence, and demonetization are available to, demonization. I'm so used to being demonetized. Not really anymore. YouTube's actually not demonetizing me much right now, which is creepy. I'm going to figure out why that's happening eventually, YouTube, but I'm not going to complain in the meantime. But the violence and demonization are available to all. If you want to speak Spanish and celebrate a quincena in your family, go ahead. If you want to be part of a non-white supremacist group, go ahead. Trump doesn't care. As long as you love him, he'll love you. I mean, yeah, that's actually a good thing. It's a good thing that people don't care what you're doing with your free time. It is a good thing that the President of the United States doesn't want to regulate that. That is a good thing. Why do these people want the government to regulate everything? I don't understand. I've never been a libertarian in my life until we have people like this in the Washington Post come in and say, we want the government to regulate every part of your life. Like, why? I don't need it. Leave me alone. These people are pushing me to be a libertarian. That is what is happening. It's these people. Thank God I live in New Hampshire. America's racial divide is not simply between whites and non-whites. Thinking in terms of multiracial whiteness helps us recognize that much of today's political rift is a division between those who are drawn to and remain invested in a politics of whiteness and those who seek something better. Those who seek something better. We witnessed this very divide in Georgia when a significant segment of white voters broke with Georgia's white majority, joining a multiracial coalition that sent Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff to the U.S. Senate following the leadership of black women, whose organizing made the electoral victory possible. This is the hopeful side of the shifting and diverging politics of whiteness in the post-Trump era. The challenge will be to prevail over the extremism of Trump's white majority while trying to prevent the politics of whiteness from becoming an increasingly multiracial affair. So you hear that, folks? Either you join with the woke left or you're gonna lose your black or Latino or Asian or whatever card. You get no cards except your white privilege card unless you support the woke left. You got it? Oh, goodness me. Goodness me. What a time to be alive. What a time. All right, folks, if you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel, turning on notifications, leaving a comment below to feed that YouTube algorithm, giving it a thumbs up if you want more of my content recommended. That's all I've got for right now. I'll see you soon.